Everybody, and welcome to the Board of County Commissioners April 9th, 2024 meeting. And at this point, I'd like to have, we are called to order. At this point, I'd like to have the roll call, please.
Commissioner Barnett, Commissioner Baxter, Commissioner Bernard.
Here.
Vice Mayor Marino.
Here.
Mayor Sachs.
Prayers here.
Commissioner Weiss.
Here.
Commissioner Woodward.
Here.
Thank you.
Prayers off the top of your head. Very good. If everybody could please stand, I'm going to ask the Vice Mayor to do the prayers and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you all for gathering here today. We are in challenging times with people that voice their opinions that may not be the same as yours. Please take all factions into consideration. Hate speech is not acceptable anywhere on this planet, is not acceptable here. We want to bring each other in, support each other. And with that, I say amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you very much, Vice Mayor Marino. Right now, let's take a look at if there are any additions, deletions, or substitutions to the agenda as published.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the board, there are no additions, deletions, or substitutions today.
Thank you very much. And if I could have approval of the agenda as it's published, I have a first by Commissioner Woodward, a second by Commissioner Weiss. All those for, anybody opposed, see that it passes unanimously. Moving right along to the consent agenda, which you will find pages 7 to 41. Is there anyone who wishes to pull anything from the consent agenda at this time? Seeing no one, do I have a first to accept the consent agenda as published? Yes, first by Commissioner Woodward, a second by Vice Mayor Marino. All those for, anybody opposed, see that it passes unanimously. Now we have no public hearings unless there's anybody who would like to put something in there right now. If not, moving right along to the regular agenda, which is found on pages 43 to 46. And if we could please refer to those pages at this time. And looking towards the county attorney at this time. With, let me see, 5A1.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I can make a motion to adopt this resolution.
Okay, very good. We have a first by Commissioner Bernard, a second by Commissioner Weiss. All those for, anybody opposed, see that it passes unanimously. Actually, not 7-0, but let the record reflect that we have 2 excused absences at this time. So we do have a quorum for the record. Moving on now to 5B1. We're going to have, do I have any motion to approve? We have one card. Let's hear the card at this time. Commissioner Weiss will read the card.
Alexandria Larson.
Ms. Larson, come right on up.
Hopefully it'll be a quick meeting for you today.
Good morning.
Commissioners, when I was reading this 187 pages, I worry about us. We keep taking away public participation in government because this turns from $200,000 that you look at as a board, because people don't understand the consent agenda. And thank you, Commissioner Sachs, for saying it's 40 pages. Consent's very long. Our regular agendas are very tiny. But this procurement, it says we have 12 extra times. You have 12 workshops that people, that you'll be able to discuss things. You don't let people talk during workshops. You don't let people talk on a lot of things, commissioners. I don't know if you realize it. I've been stopped. I've only been back for a little bit, and I can't believe how many times I was stopped from speaking. But this particular one, it goes to $500,000 that won't come before the board anymore. It won't even be on consent. That worries me, commissioners. I think we ought to look at our money. I can't help it. People think I'm an environmentalist, but no, I'm a preservationist. I want to preserve what we got. And I think we do have rights and stuff that we should be able to come up here and speak. I don't agree necessarily with people who yell at you and make you feel bad, but I try to be decent when I come up here. And sometimes I really do want to yell, but I try to keep it at a minimum. But this, you really need to look at this. I hope each one of you will read this. I really do. I want you to look at what we're doing. Because, I noticed it on one of our last agendas. When it comes to on consent, where there's expenditures and the contracts keep going up and up and up, there's no numbers, and it doesn't tell us what we're even doing. This was from your last agenda, and I'm reading and I'm like, we do deserve to know the numbers, commissioners. We do. I'm really sorry, but that's how I feel. And I don't think we should go from 200,000 to 500,000, because that's what this document does when you read the fine print. Because we had red outs, pages of them, and red ins, pages of them, and then it goes to blue on the things we missed that the public might participate in. And I think that we need more public participation, more than ever, right now, because our whole country's, kind of under siege with money and people in trouble. All I hear from everybody is, I can't afford to live. And we're bleeding money. And the contracts they go up and up and up. They have for years. I've been coming down here quite a while, and they always went up. And it was always a mistake or an extension of time. We're not done, we're not under budget, and we're not doing it in the time frame we were promised. It's nobody's fault, but it's the way companies work today. But it's like a free pass. And this, I hope you keep it at 200,000. It comes before you, commissioners, so you can see what's going on. I'm just saying, just for your own benefit and for the benefit of the taxpayers.
Thank
They
you for
deserve
those
that.
remarks. I'd like to recognize Vice Mayor Marino.
Thank you. There is nothing in this at the $500,000 rate that Ms. Larson just said. I would like staff to clarify, because I believe it went from 200 to 300 based on talking to other counties and what their process was. So could you please clarify for the record?
Certainly. Good morning. Isami Ayala, Director of Facilities Development and Operations and Assistant County Administrator. Vice Mayor, you're correct. Our recommended increase, which was discussed during the last workshop meeting, was from $200,000 to $300,000 director level authority. And just to recap, that includes 6 directors, purchasing, and the 5 construction departments. And that recommendation was made based on 2 things. Number one, by applying the index, the escalation index from Engineering's news record, and then based on a benchmarking exercise that we did as to comparable counties and cities in the area. Those were the 2 factors. But the recommendation, what the ordinance proposes, is $300,000.
And if I'm not mistaken, the comparable was
We had
360?
$370,000 if we apply the index directly, just the index. And then based on other cities, we had authority levels as high as $1 million, which certainly we were not recommending. We had neighbors in the area of $500,000, so we felt that by doing $300,000, not only were we below what the index will take you to, but also we were kind of in a very conservative mid-range with our peers.
And on page 6 of the summary of key revisions to the purchasing ordinance, there is a $500,000 figure, which maybe Ms. Larson was referring to. So could you please clarify the statement for contracts between $300,000 and $500,000 authorize the county's contract review committee to approve increases up to 15%? Could you clarify that, please?
Certainly. That was basically a means to allowing the contract review committee, which is a committee established by county procedure as well, okay, to be able to consider increases where necessary. It's not not changing the scope, it's not changing what was procured. It's basically allowing for a capacity increase so that the process could be kept moving. But we capped that at $500,000, my apologies, so that any increases over that will still come back to the board. We were trying to balance expediency with, making sure everything is transparent and comes to the board.
Thank you. And I did read the over 200 pages, Ms. Larson, right here. And we do read our agendas, and that's why we have agenda reviews. And a lot of the questions that may come up here, we've already asked in our agenda reviews. But I just want to say thank you, Ms. Larson, for reading the agenda like the rest of us. And with that, I will make the motion to approve on preliminary reading and permission to advertise for public hearing on May 14th, 2024 at 9:30, item 5B1.
Second.
Okay, very good, thank you. Before we take a vote, I'd like to have some of the other commissioners speak on this issue. Let me first, before I go to you, recognize Commissioner Woodward. If I could recognize our attorney, Ms. Kaufman, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out, because we hear these comments on a frequent basis, that the work of staff behind the scenes is only mirrored by the work of the commissioners, that we spend an inordinate amount of time talking to the commissioners page by page and in detail over a lot of these items. And if anybody thinks that our commissioners do not read this voluminous documentation, they are sorely mistaken, because we are called upon to answer minute questions that are buried in the documents. And we are often shocked at how the commissioners have spent hours memorizing this stuff. It seems like they've memorized it because they understand the details that we maybe don't understand until they ask the questions, and we have to go back to our offices and research the questions and follow up. These commissioners are working commissioners. They are truly working commissioners, and the staff is often in their offices explaining things and sending them memoranda and making sure that the commissioners fully understand, reviewing maps, reviewing disclosures. It goes on and on. This is a working commission. This is not a commission that merely passes things. There is no question about that, and I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you so much, and thank you. And let me just state, as a result of your comments, that your office has been extremely proactive in giving us the right information and advice if we wish to take it. But each one of us represents over 200,000 residents here in Palm Beach County, and we are really the people when it comes to that, and we certainly have great staff. Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. First off, we've had multiple public discussions about the purchasing ordinance in addition to the workshop we did in February, where we went over what your proposals were and were able to provide some input and direction on that. And then you brought us back in this last workshop. You brought it back what you had put together for us. Also, to share with the public that this last time this ordinance was reviewed and updated was in 2015. That's almost 10 years ago. A lot has changed, and so this is a timely, probably should be done probably every 5 years at the most, but in this case it went out almost 10 years. And lastly, this was a preliminary reading and a permission to advertise, which is what is in front of us, not approving this ordinance yet. And there was a comment made that we don't always allow the public to speak during a workshop. The workshop is honestly for the commission to be able to have a public conversation. That's why a workshop exists, and we support our sunshine in Florida, but that requires that anytime we have a discussion amongst ourselves, it has to be done in a noticed public forum, that's the role the workshop has for us. It allows us to have an open dialogue with each other without violating Florida's wonderful sunshine laws. So I did second this for preliminary reading and permission to advertise, but I did want to clarify those points. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And again, before I get to you, Commissioner Woodward, come on, would you like to, okay. Oh, very good. All right, Commissioner Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to state, coming from being a private citizen, I agree with some of the statements that were made, and we hope that there's more citizen involvement than what's in this room right now. Hopefully, people are watching. But I would like them to know I received this voluminous volume, shall we say, in early December, and I had my first meeting with you on December 14th, which was kind of, the first crack at the egg, so to speak, and then I had another month to kind of digest. We had a second meeting in January 16th, and then, as my fellow commissioners have mentioned, the workshop that we had and more follow-up meetings. So we've had a lot of time to go through this, and we all, I'm sure, had plenty of questions. I know I did, even some of it just for my own understanding, to understand how this works and the timing. When was, you mentioned 2015, but when was the last time the actual dollar amounts were updated? Wasn't that before?
2005.
2005 was the last time we've updated the dollar amounts. And we, as a board, continuously ask, why do projects take so long? What's the delay? This was one of the options that was brought to us. I mean, it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all kind of answer here, but this is one of the things that can speed up the process. And for clarification, the public, are they allowed to speak on consent items? Are they allowed to put in a card and speak?
Yes.
So even though it goes on consent, you still could fill out a card and just which item it is you want to speak on. Before we vote on consent, the public has the right to speak on that as well. So even though some of this may be moved to consent that wouldn't be before, it's not going to remove the public participation. So I do appreciate all the work that went into this. And hopefully it will streamline the process. And even if we do it on a workshop day, it would still be considered a consent agenda vote. So that means the public would be allowed to speak on the consent items.
Correct.
So I do support the changes that have made here, and I would third if I could. But
Excellent, thank you. Vice Mayor Marino, and then our County Administrator, Ms. Baker.
Thank you. Also, there was a board direction given a while back about ordinances and the list of reporting requirements with those ordinances. And I would like to say that in this document, we are adding one more reporting requirement. And I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that the Director of Procurement, I can't even say those words, Director of Procurement shall submit to the board as a receive and file item a list of contracts terminated, if any, on a quarterly basis. So there is additional reporting requirements that go along with this ordinance that's being published. So I do say thank you for that. And that's it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And now County Administrator Baker.
I just want to thank the board because we did spend a lot of time with board members on this particular item. This was an item that started, which predates ISME as well as Melody. It was a priority of mine to update, I'm almost there, update the procurement process. And so we're almost there. And I have to thank the county attorney's office because they have definitely worked with us to make sure we're well within our guidelines. We are trying to, we are going to continue to automate our processes so that will also help us in the long run. And so I'm looking at my ISS department. We have been talking about how do we continue to move forward with automating our agenda process and making it paperless. As a dinosaur, I'll still print mine out, but we're moving forward with that. That will also help our process. I'd like to thank all of the chambers as well as the AGC Economic Council because staff went out to them to get input as well. Black Chamber, Hispanic Chamber, all of our chambers, Palm Beach Chamber, Western County Chamber. So we hit all of our chambers so that our business people would know what we're doing and move forward. They did provide us valuable input, and a lot of it is included in what we're recommending to you. So staff, thank you for all the hard work because I know it was a long journey, but we're almost there. So again, thank you, board, for your support.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Ms. Kaufman?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that my office did do a spreadsheet on the reporting requirements and provided it to Commissioner Marino at this time, but we are expecting that administration is going to do an electronic version so that it can be kept updated and maintained on a regular basis. But anybody that would like a copy of that spreadsheet that we've already done is welcome to have it.
Very good. I want to thank my colleagues. And Ms. Larson, thank you, because if it wasn't for your question, we wouldn't have been able to give the public all this information as to how the county commissioners are working for the betterment of the residents. And let me also remind folks, there are 7 county commissioners. Each one of us has an office. We have a staff. We have a website. You can contact us at any time. At any time, we are available. And I just want you to know that this is your county government working for you. So thank you for that question. I appreciate it, Ms. Larson. Okay, we have on this issue of 5B1, Vice Mayor Marino has put forward the motion. It's second by Commissioner Weiss. All those for, anybody opposed? See that it passes unanimously, 5-0. Moving on next to 5C1, and I would like to include 5C1A, B, and C at this time. Do we have any motions or, very good. I see Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to, this is something I think it's great that we're going to be getting more affordable housing units. A couple things, though. One is I'd like to increase, right now it's got a 30-year restriction on the use of this, and I'd like to extend that out to 50 years. So I'd like to make a motion to approve item C1, A, B, and C with the amending it so that the properties will have an affordability period of no less than 50 years as opposed to the 30 years that was originally in the document.
Okay, with that modification noted for the record, does anybody wish to opine or to give a comment as to that modification? Vice Mayor Marino.
Microphones. Just a question. If we change from 30 to 50, how does it affect the applicants and their documentation?
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. At this point, we advised all of the respondents that it would be no less than 30 years, which means it could be up to 50 years or even longer. So all of the responders, our proposers, are aware of that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so in other words, could you please state your name for the record? I know who you are. but-
Jonathan Brown, Department of Housing and Economic Development.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any other questions or comments by members of the board? Okay, very good. I don't know, do we need to, I think we don't need a first or a second to modify? We should, just to be, okay, very good. So do I have, okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Weiss and I have a second by Commissioner Woodward. And this is on the modification.
So, no, I think what I had meant, with your permission, Mayor, is that the motion itself would say with the change to affordability period of 50
Very
years.
good. Then before we go there, does any commissioner, first of all, should we have a staff report?
No.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Okay, very good. Always good to see you, though. So does any commissioner have anything to say before we do the vote with the modification? Very good. Okay, now we're going to take the vote. We have a first by Commissioner Weiss, a second by Commissioner Woodward on 5C1, A, B, and C as modified. All right, anybody opposed? Everybody for it? See that it passes unanimously 5-0. Very good, thank you. Moving on to 5C2, A, B, and C. And this is so
Madam Mayor,
wonderful.
I'd like to
Yes.
make a motion to approve items C2A, B, C, and D, and also modify it to make the terms 50 years.
Very good. Just like the previous one, that would make it consistent.
Second.
Very good, Commissioner Weiss. Now, are there any comments on this?
Just A, B, and C.
Yes, 5C2, A, B, and C. Yes, that's exactly correct. Of course, with the modification. I just like to say something before we take the vote. This is awesome. I want to see more and more of these. I count these up. We are a little below the number that we need, but we're going in the right direction. And Ms. Baker, whatever we can do to pursue more and more of the use of these funds for affordable housing, Mr. Brown, everybody full speed ahead. Ms. Baker.
We will be presenting to you next Tuesday a housing workshop, and we're going to lay out all the things this board has supported and projects. This board didn't just endorse affordable workforce housing last year. We've been all along doing it. So we're going to provide that information to you, along with some recommendations on how we can move it forward faster.
I look forward to that. Time is of the essence, and I can see that we've had plenty of planning beforehand, so it's not, we're not caught without being prepared. Okay, we're going to take the vote now on 5C2, A, B, and C as modified. Is there anybody opposed? All those for, see that it passes 5-0 unanimously. Thank you so much, Mr. Brown. Thank you. All right, going on to 6A1, and okay, this is where we have a motion to approve for one member of the zoning commission. And I've discussed this with our county attorney. What we're going to do is, if anybody is here who has applied, is there anybody here present who has applied? Very good, sir. Anybody else? Yes. One other lady? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to allow you to come up and... No, I think you're right here. I don't think we need verbal nominations.
They are here.
They're listed.
I don't think we have.
They're listed right here. Let me put it this way, as listed, the nominees and who they're nominated for are listed in 5A1. So, sir, would you come up? You'll have 3 minutes to introduce yourself, and then, ma'am, you'll be next. State your name. You're recognized, sir.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. Jess Sowards. I'm a principal with Curry Sowards Eagle Architects. I'm a resident of Palm Beach County for 37 years. I've been a partner at this firm since 2000. Out of those 37 years, about 33 years, I have been serving on advisory boards, volunteering. That is my way of giving back. The county's been so good to me and my firm. This is basically what I do, and I enjoy it. What makes me unique in this situation is because we have such a diversified firm. We do probably 65% governmental work. The rest is private. We do a lot of fire stations. We do judicial centers everywhere from Port St. Lucie all the way down to Key West. So I'm very familiar with the land development regulations throughout Southeast Florida and also your LDC. So, and I currently have served past 3 years on the Zoning Commission, and I like to keep volunteering. So,
Very
thank
good.
you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Thank you very much, sir. Ma'am, state your name. You're recognized.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Susan Kennedy. I live in Jupiter Farms. I've lived up there in Palm Beach County since 1968, so it's been a long haul. My first part of my life here was at Riverbend Trailer Park, before it was Riverbend County Park, swimming in the Loxahatchee River. And then in Jupiter Farms, showing cows in 4-H at the South Florida Fair. So all of those experiences have instilled a deep love for the area and a desire to be a good steward for our land and our waters for the future. I've worked in organizational development for the state Florida university system. I'm trained as a land use and environmental attorney, and I've worked as an associate for a town attorney, as well as private developers and community organizations. So I have experience in all of the different aspects of the law. I've also spent some time as a professional environmental organizer with the Everglades Coalition. For the past over 20 years, I've been a local community organizer in the Jupiter Farms area, fighting to preserve and protect the Loxahatchee River and the watershed surrounding it, and working with both county and developers and making sure that our area gets developed responsibly. We've never been a no group. We've always been trying to work with people to create compromises that, again, provide a good stewardship of our area for the future. I've also served as a state-appointed Greenways and Trails Council member, and most recently as on our Land Development Regulation Advisory Board. My civic involvement, I think, is an important and diversified voice that could be added to the Zoning Commission, and if appointed, I'd be more than happy, be thrilled to serve. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Is there any questions at this time? Seeing none, thank you so much. Thank you. At this time, I've been advised that we're going to take a vote by roll call, and everyone will vote on the person that they would like to serve on this very, very important board. And then the one with the highest number of votes, I guess that's the way our American system works, will have that. And if you don't, then please stay very much involved with county government. We need you. If I could have the clerk go ahead and do the roll, please.
Commissioner Woodward,
You're first.
I have to go first. This is a tough one.
You want to pass? You want us to pass? Yeah, it's okay.
No, Susan Kennedy. This was tough, though.
All right.
Commissioner Bernard,
Jess Sowers.
Commissioner Weiss,
Susan Kennedy.
Vice Mayor Marino,
Susan Kennedy.
Mayor Sachs.
Rolando Barrero.
Susan Kennedy.
Congratulations.
Okay, congratulations. And Mr. Swords, I'm going to be looking for you and keep up your volunteer as you have in the past. And we need your counsel. Thank you very much for the application. And Ms. Kennedy, congratulations. Thanks so much. Vice Mayor Marino, you're
Thank you.
recognized.
For everyone that put their hat into the ring here, thank you. Susan, thank you for being on LDRAB previous to this and all that you've done. Mr. Sowards, thank you very much for coming here today, and I'm sure that there's going to be a place for you somewhere. We do, all of us have at least 30 boards and councils that we have to put people on boards and councils, so I'm sure there's a spot for you. And I do welcome the participation of our individuals who use their skills to augment what we do here. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Moving on to 6B, are there any commission district appointments? Or anyone? Seeing none. Moving on to staff comments. Ms. Baker.
I failed to recognize some of our stalwart community leaders, people that come to the board and share theirs. So I'd like to thank Ms. Larson for her efforts over the many decades that I've spent with her. So thank you very much for what you do. Even though we don't always agree, we have a good discussion. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. I'd like to recognize, I'm going a little bit out of turn here, Senator Powell, who has joined us today. Always good to see you, Senator. All right, County Attorney, do you have any comment?
I provided you all with a statute and a case, and there were just some rumors that I heard that I kind of wanted to clarify for the benefit of the board.
Rumors, yeah, let's hear them.
Well, no, I'm not going to repeat the rumors. They're just rumors. They're not worth repeating. But it brought to my attention the fact that the board needs to understand and know that generally the rule of law is that this board must competitively bid all real estate and property transactions. However, there are exceptions, and one of the exceptions is for economic development. If the board finds that a particular project merits and will bring economic development, substantial economic development to the county, this board has the authority to forego competitive bidding. This is the situation, the case that I gave you that happened with the Beckham Soccer Stadium in Miami, that they did not competitively award the county land that was given to them to help them bid that stadium. But obviously, a soccer stadium is bringing a lot of economic development to the county, and the court acknowledged that. The court acknowledged that there's going to be a lot of visitors, there's going to be a lot of construction, there's going to be ongoing benefits to the county, and the court specifically said that the statute is written in a way that's not terribly clear, but it said there are exceptions, and one of the exceptions is for economic development. There's also an exception to give property to nonprofits. So again, the commission would have to find that it's in the best interest of the county, that it provides clearly benefits to the county to give this land to a nonprofit. In those situations, you are allowed to forego competitive bidding. And I just wanted to make sure that you are aware that tool is available to you.
Thank you so much. Any questions? I think you made that very clear. This is going to be a work in progress, too. Thank you so much, Ms. Kaufman. All right, we're going to move now on to commissioner comments, and I'm going to start from my right. Commissioner Bernard, do you have any comments, sir?
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you very much. I have to do some birthday wishes, so I have to wish Aaliyah Hay and Kyle Hay, Kyle's known as KJ, Kyle Hay Jr. a happy birthday, and also Dr. Judy Sineas a happy birthday. I want to thank Jonathan Brown for attending the Peace Nehemiah Action yesterday, which is for the past 7 years I've attended. And I've been on the hot seat, so this was my first year that I was able to attend as just an attendee.
Very nice.
I was happy that I wasn't on the hot seat yesterday. Thanks for being there for me, Jonathan.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized for any comments?
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I think at the, you know, we had public comment at the end of last week's meeting, and I've heard from folks in the community that were upset by some of the things that folks from the public had said, and rightfully so. You know, and I think we discussed at that meeting the importance of the First Amendment and that there is a limit. There's something called hate speech in this state, and that the speakers, to my understanding, did not, their comments did not rise to the specter of what could be considered hate speech, but it was awful. It was disgusting, but it didn't violate Florida or county ordinances. So it's unfortunate that we have to hear these kinds of things. You know, I was reminded, I did that Friday, I went to a Holocaust remembrance presentation at GSAR School of the Arts, and I spoke, and there were some Holocaust survivors that were there. But there were also, and there aren't many of them left, Jewish people who participated in serving in the American Armed Forces during World War II, that fought alongside the rest of the members of the armed forces to liberate Europe and Asia. while these atrocities were being promulgated not only on Jewish people in the Holocaust, but also the Romas, folks that were disabled, the LGBTQ community. But there were Jewish soldiers fighting to give the freedom of this First Amendment, to provide that freedom for those people to come in here and say those awful things that they said. But that was Jewish soldiers that provided them that right, and they need to remember that, because I do, and I think every other American remembers that as well. So, again, it was shocking, but unfortunately, I guess not surprising that people would come out from underneath their rocks and spread their hate. Not only the Jewish people, but of African Americans, of immigrants, which most of us, quite frankly, are. We're not born in this country, or our families weren't. So, anyways, it was awful, but to the public, I just want them to know that, again, reiterate, we have ordinances, we have laws, this board has enacted them, and we will continue to make sure that the people in this country and this county are protected. We have great law enforcement that are equally as certain about protecting us, as well as our state attorney, and for that I'm eternally thankful.
Thank you so much for those comments. Let me just state, as a result of that display of hateful speech, that I have spoken to our county attorney, and the county attorney's office is going to prepare a document that every member will sign if they wish to come and speak before this board at matters by the public. And hopefully, we will have a draft of that for each one of us to review, modify, and approve publicly. That way, every member of the public will be notified what is constitutionally permitted. I will say this: I'm an officer of the court, as Commissioner Bernard is, and you cannot speak in a courtroom to use disparaging or hateful speech, even if it is protected under the First Amendment. I'm just giving my personal opinion, and my opinion as mayor, okay? That there is a certain decorum, whether it is in Congress or a courtroom or any governmental body, not because of those who sit in this dais, but because of the flag that stands behind us, and the men and women who fought and died for the dignity that everybody should respect for the flag and the fact that this is a governmental agency. So we will review that publicly. I've asked, thank you for the county attorney for drafting this. I want everybody to understand before they come and speak before this board their rights under the Constitution and the First Amendment, and we may even establish our own decorum. It's as if somebody would come in here with a T-shirt or some clothing that would be hateful, or even without any clothing as a form of expression. I don't want to give anybody any ideas now, but I will not tolerate it, and maybe the members of the board will think to have a system of decorum as they do in other bodies of government. So with that, I'm going to recognize our county attorney. Thank you, Ms. Kaufman.
First, I apologize to the board for not being at that Matters by the Public. I was preparing for a medical procedure, and I did listen to the meeting from my bathroom. There was a lot to unpack from that Matters by the Public, which was totally unexpected, or I would have made different arrangements. I think there's a couple things to think about, and I would like the board to think a little bit before our next discussion about what our rules should be. Obviously, Commissioner Weiss is well-versed on the First Amendment, and hate speech is protected under the First Amendment. Hate speech is a term of art for criminal law. There's really no such thing under the First Amendment. There are other things that are protected under the First Amendment. I'm not going to go into detail right here. But I think sometimes the board has a decision to make in their heart and their conscience. And sometimes we make stands because that's the right thing to do. So that's something the board is going to have to consider when we talk about what it is we want people to acknowledge and what it is we're willing to enforce. One of the things that we can do is we can limit speech to the business of the board and not allow commentary that is unrelated to business. However, we're going to have to be careful and strict. Everyone must be accommodated the same way. So if someone starts talking about something that is not within the scope of the authority and purpose of the board, of the county, then you cut them off mid-sentence. If somebody makes a comment about being unhappy with the resolution of the board, that's clearly within the scope of the board. But at that point, if they continue to make political statements or statements that are unrelated to the business of the board, you can cut them off if it's unrelated to us, but we must be consistent. Everyone gets treated the same. So we're going to beef up the rules a little bit and focus on the fact that we only want people to talk about things that are relevant to the Board of County Commissioners. What we do beyond that is probably going to be something that's a little bit more difficult for us to stand against, but we have seen other communities do it, and perhaps the conscience of the board is such that we're willing to take a little bit more risk than strictly conservative, which, you know, attorneys always want to be the most conservative people in the room when it comes to risk. But sometimes laws don't change unless they're challenged. So that's something to be thought about too. So we'll have a more robust discussion when we come back with a few proposals for the board about how we can try to tie down this idea, which is perfectly legitimate, that people can only talk about things that this board has authority or jurisdiction over. So President Trump is not within our authority and jurisdiction. We have nothing to do with his cabinet. We have nothing to do with any of that. So we're not going to tolerate it. We don't need to hear about that. You know, that's nothing we can do about. So that's the kind of thing we're looking at. But as I said, this is tricky because then you're always trying to be consistent with every speaker that comes up, that you're only strictly limiting it to county business.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kaufman. So it's good to have the county attorney here. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you. I guess I also had the unfortunate pleasure of being a part of that meeting last week. And I did hear from a number of our Palm Beach County citizens and people even outside of Palm Beach County. And my family in South Carolina even found out about it. And you know, it's not us. And I agree. Like freedom of speech, we are government. We are part of the Constitution, and freedom of speech is not something that we can't mess with it. And honestly, having them say those terribly vile things, the remaining people in the room, I'm watching faces across the room, and it was shocking to everyone in the room that heard it, and I know it was shocking to everyone who was watching it. And sometimes that's the silver lining of freedom of speech, for very terrible and awful things to be said out loud, because it kind of brought the rest of the community together to say, that's not us, that's not Palm Beach County, we don't want anything to do with that. And as hard as it was for us to sit there and listen, it also, you know, it wasn't just directed at you. It was a lot directed to you, but it was directed to anyone that doesn't look like me, honestly. And I want no part of that. And I think the rest of us felt the same way. So, you know, however we move forward, it is in that giant binder that you've given us. I've already read that section where it talks about matters by the public, and it is meant to be matters pertaining to this board. It's something I actually have flagged a few weeks ago, just because matters by the public, sometimes we end up listening to a lot of stuff that we can do nothing about. And it's become an open mic for disgruntled citizens that are mad about a number of things. And rightfully so or not, there's only so much we can do. And I appreciate he's here, someone who spoke about a civics lesson, that I think that civics is kind of missing. And for all of us and for our constituents, it's important for them to know what we can and cannot do. We need to know what we can and cannot do. And we need to know who does the things that are making us so upset. And that's just something that I think is missing. And maybe it's missing from grade school. I'm old enough to have had civics as a child, but I think we need to up that a little bit more. That's a school board issue, not our jurisdiction. So with that being said, I did get to go to a peace poll. We have a newest peace poll here in Boca's, Burt Aronson Park at Dagger Wing, which is 250,000 around the world. We have one here, so it was really a nice thing to have on Saturday morning for everyone to come together and wish for peace on the planet. I think we have a good bit of that here. We live in a bit of a bubble, and I'd like to save it and protect it and maybe spread some of that love outside of here. And also, I sent everyone a memo. I'm sorry, I was late getting it this morning. Yesterday got away from me. Asking, could I be the representative for this board for the transportation master plan? We've had some discussions, and I know that all of you were part of. Oh, I'm sorry. All of you were part of the meeting last week, where I think a number of our citizens were asking, what's the plan for the county? We have a lot of work to do, and similar to how Commissioner Bernard was for housing, I would like to sort of be that liaison to deal with some of our different stakeholders, and of course with our county departments and a number of other agencies, really talk to all of our cities, make this a very comprehensive master plan. I'd like to be the one to represent us and bring all that information back. So if anyone wants to discuss that.
Sure. Is that, I don't think that we need to have a vote on this. I think that if there's any comment about it from anyone else on the board, we'll hear you now. And Vice Mayor Marino, you're recognized.
While I appreciate you wanting to throw your hat into the ring, I pretty much laid the groundwork for that over the last 3 years. And as the incoming chair of TPA and incoming chair of Treasure Coast, I think it would, I'm not sure, and with everything that's going on, I know you want to do this, but it's sort of already something that I've started. So I don't want to be in competition, because that is absolutely not what I want to do. And I do know you are very adamant about transportation. I think my resume shows how adamant I've been about transportation too. So what I would like to do is, because we still have a couple of things that need to be worked out, lawsuits, mobility, and everything else, I think maybe this discussion might be a little premature.
Okay.
But we will come back to it.
Why don't we take a look at seeing if we could have 2 members of our board represent, no, we cannot. I can see the county attorney either shaking her head or having fixing her hair, one or the other, probably shaking her head. So I'll tell you what, why don't we table this, and we'll see if we can't work something out, because we certainly need, just as we all said to the folks who wanted to serve on the zoning commission today, that this is something where we need lots of collaborative efforts. So if it's okay with you, Commissioner Woodward, if we could just table this for today, and then we'll see if we can't work it out and bring it back before the board. Is that okay at this time, Commissioner Woodward?
Yes.
It's okay? Okay, very good, and we will. And thank you for wanting to do this. This is not an easy thing to get involved in. All right, Vice Mayor Marino, you're recognized.
Well, I do want everyone to notice I am wearing blue and white. I'd like to congratulate the Yukon Huskies. I did get my bachelor's degree from Yukon, so I was one of those people voting for them last night. And I
Did you play basketball there at all?
I did
They
not
got a
play
great women's
basketball.
team.
Yes, the women's team lost
It's
a little
amazing.
while ago, but Yukon repeated last night. Sports is very important in our nation, and I know we all talk about our local teams and their successes, and sports is probably one of the biggest economic drivers in our county, so anything we can do to support that is great. I don't have any other comments, but I do want to, where's Bobby Powell?
Okay.
Bobby left. Okay, well, Bobby Powell was here, just wanted to say hello. And do want to say to everybody, thank you for coming to our meetings, for those that do. Drew, thank you. You didn't even put a card in today, Drew. But we do appreciate public comment, and it is important that we do discuss the topics that we have purview over. There are a lot of things we don't, and I know there's a lot of folks that want a forum for it, and sometimes this just isn't the place. But I do appreciate those that do come out here to speak and know that we actually do our homework and we actually do read our agendas. And yes, sometimes it's a heavy lift when one agenda item is 200 pages long, but we wouldn't be doing our jobs if we didn't do that, because we are the ones that have to ask the questions. And I do appreciate staff because they truly are the experts. We are 7 people that rotate every 4 to 8 years up here. And we may know a little about a lot of things, but staff has concentrations in the fields of study that they studied in, and it behooves us to listen to staff when they are giving their recommendations. It behooves us to question them, like going from 30 years to 50 years. And that's not a question to you, that's a question to us. So we do appreciate all the effort that you put in to get us our agendas in a timely fashion. And I know we've said in the past, and I think we've been getting our agendas in a more timely fashion, which is great, because when we get a 200 or 300-page document dumped in front of us on a Monday and we have a meeting on a Tuesday, it's hard to go through that and vote on it the next day. So I do appreciate that staff is being more diligent about getting us the documentation way ahead of time, because it makes our jobs better. It makes us better county commissioners, because then we are better informed. And with that, Mayor, I would say thank you for allowing us all our opportunities to speak today, and thank you.
I'd like to have Commissioner Weiss have 2 off-site proclamations on my behalf.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to do it. I'd like to make a motion asking for 2 off-site proclamations declaring June 4th, 2024 as Holocaust Survivor Day and declaring May 25th, 2024 as Family Abduction Awareness Day.
Okay, all those for, anybody against? See that it passes unanimously. And,
Mayor, may I be recognized?
I'm sorry?
Who was the second?
I was. Okay, very good. That was smooth. I'd like to thank all my colleagues for going to the Homeless Coalition ball. I was so proud to have every commissioner there representative. Ms. Baker was there. I'd like to thank publicly Dr. Tamara Mays, putting on an amazing sold-out crowd. And we will hear more at our workshop for housing, and they will give us a report as to the monies received, where they go, and how many actual units we're going to build, and we will fulfill our obligation by October 1st, by God. So with that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Everybody stay safe. Thank you. Okay.